So welcome to this latest edition of ABN Cast. It's a special edition today where we're going to look at our Best Places to Work in Aviation initiative that we've launched through ABN this year, where we will be honouring some of the best employers in the sector and also raising the profile of aviation as a place for particularly young people and more diverse workforce to come and work and have great careers. I am delighted to be joined in the ABN Cast studio by Claire Pallett. She is the People Director at one of our sponsors for Best Places, 15 Below. Welcome, Claire. You've come from Brighton this morning to come and join us.
So, thank you for having me.
Yeah, welcome welcome to London. Before we start, why don't you just tell me a little bit about 15 Below? It's not an aviation company, so maybe not a brand people aware of, but what do you do and what do you do with your clients, your aviation clients?
Sure, so probably you're absolutely right, you might never have heard of us, but the likelihood is you might have received one of our notifications if you've flown recently. We work with over 60 of the world's airlines, and our platform basically enables passenger communication and engagement.
Okay.
So our customers work with us because they want to make sure that their passengers have the best communication at every stage of their passenger journey, right the way through from booking all the way through to when they land.
Right.
So we push out communication which is personalised, tailor-made, letting people know every single thing that might be happening with their flight, where their baggage might be, if there's been any delays, and effectively we just try and take the stress out of travel to give people the information that they need when they need it. So
you're the tech platform that does that on behalf of airlines.
Absolutely.
And I would have thought the disruption is a key area that you work on. We've all been there where there's been delays, etc. It's one of the most frustrating parts of travel. So you're trying to ease that for customers.
Absolutely. We have all been there, and we know how awful it is when we don't know what on earth's going on, and there's a queue to the customer inquiries desk, miles long. We're trying to get the information, but what our platform will do, we'll push you a notification to say, listen, we know what's happening. This is what's going on. This is what you need to do, and tries to automate many of those kind of communications to take the reliance out of those poor customer service people that are on the receiving end of that stress.
They are.
Yeah.
And actually, going back to your day job as HR, and those people do get a lot of stress, and all they need is the information or at least some advice, because it's the worst thing is you face someone who's got the brand on their shirt or their uniform and they can't tell you what's going on.
Well, often that person who has got the brand on their shirt doesn't have that information either. So our platform also gives the airline staff the information that they need as well, so they're fully equipped and fully informed.
So actually, that's interesting because we're in the middle of doing some research with a company called IBS Software exactly on the way the aviation industry reacts when there is disruption, to find out from aviation professionals whether they think they do a good job, what's stopping them doing that good job, what do they need, what are the tools they need to do that. So that obviously fits quite nicely with another bit of another project we're doing with
absolutely. I think it's kind of really high on the list of all airline priority, really, in terms of that, building that customer engagement, making sure that people feel that they are being looked after, that they're getting information that is personal to them as well. So we can push out messages that will tell someone exactly what's going on and what their options are. So if someone's travelling with children, for example, we'll make sure that we'll tell them in that particular airport there is a children's play area to go to, those sorts of things, really. So there's a real ability for our customers to really kind of tailor make the comms that they push out and make sure that they're really appropriate, so it's not just one size fits all. Yeah,
okay. No, interesting. I came across you guys when I was at the World Aviation Festival last year, and I'm sure you're going to be there in Amsterdam in October.
Absolutely.
And you had a big stand there, so we'll no doubt see you there again. Trying to talk to as many airlines as possible. Let's talk now about the topic at hand, because you've been really kind in supporting Best Places. See that as being something that you'd want to put your brand behind in terms of what we're trying to do there. And I sort of introed this by saying it's more than just, it is about finding good companies and really sort of putting them on a pedestal. But for us, it's a lot wider than that. We feel there's a people crisis. I think it's across all industries. I was at the IATA AGM in Dubai a few weeks ago, and their chief economist said there, look, at the moment we're in a very job-rich, sort of shallow recovery from COVID, but the jobs are there, and actually there's more people in the global economy than ever before, but clearly that's putting great strain and stress on human resources, and aviation has to be out there competing with all the other sectors for the right people, the right skills. And people don't often see this because, yes, they see the cabin crew, they see the pilot, they see those kind of customer-facing jobs, Often they want to do those jobs. Those jobs seem quite exciting. So, but there's still a crisis there in terms of people. But behind the scenes, and we know this because we cover engineering and cargo, etc. Behind the scenes, doing some of those jobs that no one really sees happening but are crucial. There's a real crisis happening where there's just not enough engineers. So we want to use this platform to say, look, the aviation industry is an interesting industry to work for. It's technologically driven. Yeah, it's doing its best. It's doing a lot of stuff around sustainability, and just consider it if you're in the right subjects and got the right skills. So, give us your thoughts on how an aviation industry, from your perspective as a people director, how a sector like this that is facing that kind of challenge and those kind of challenges, how they do face those challenges, and how they do ensure that they're just not losing out because of perceptions or misperceptions about the sector.
Yeah, it's interesting because my role at 15 Below is the first time I worked in aviation or anything related to travel. And the message that I hear over and over again is that once you work in travel, once you work in aviation, actually it's
for life.
You don't want to leave because it's such a fascinating industry. So you're absolutely right. Through COVID, there was an enormous brain drain from the industry, and teams are so much smaller now. And having to deal with a real struggle to get people in. So initiatives like this are so important to kind of really raise the awareness of how rewarding a role in aviation can be.
Yeah. And
I think it's I think what we need to get better at perhaps is really get better at selling all of those advantages from working in such an interesting sector, and putting together that kind of really rich EVP of what can you get, what are the benefits from working here, and really kind of pushing that out to prospective candidates.
It is a global set by nature. I mean, by the nature of the product, it's clearly a global industry, and what you feel about the modern employees, that they're open to the idea of their career taking them to new places, new experiences. That's very much in its favour. You'd think that'd be something that people would really go after. And I suppose that is part of the attraction of pilots and cabin crew, but it really is true of the whole industry, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And I think more and more companies are having to look globally to recruit because they're not finding those candidate pools in the local area anymore. It is a fact of life that you have to have that global presence. Yeah.
One of the difficulties that the industry does have is so many of the jobs that are offered you cannot do from home. Okay, so we know this has been a massive. We had quite a lively discussion before we started this podcast about company policies in terms of being in the office and working from home. You simply can't be an aircraft engineer from your bedroom.
Of course. Yeah, of course.
So that is a sort of inherent issue that the industry is having to face. Again, I know 15 Below you were telling me, a very open policy on whether you're in or out the office. So it's horses for courses in many senses. But is there a worry that company or sectors where you have to come into the workplace will lose out on that battle for skills? Well,
it depends obviously very much on the function. If you're an engineer, any engineer has to be in the workplace for that. You can't really do that from home. Yeah. And I think the challenge then for people teams really is to make sure that every other element of the role is fulfilling and rewarding, and focusing on making every other part of that role and that profession as attractive as it possibly can be. Yeah. But we need to remember that there are a lot of people that do want to be in the workplace every single day. We've talked about it. Our team has that complete flexibility, but we do have people that do want to be in the office every single day because they thrive from that kind of personal interaction, and they thrive from being hands-on with colleagues. So I think it's just being able to find those people, isn't it? It's being able to kind of get out there and identify where those pockets of people are that are happy to go into the workplace every single day.
What you're saying to me, interestingly, from your HR people director perspective, and it was interesting what you said to me about, don't bring your old attitudes to it when you're kind of thinking about, well, who is good at their job. How do you assess that? It's about, there's some data around it, but don't just apply an old school way of thinking. Which is I guess that's a fair comment.
The world has moved on, and as we were talking about, previously, with everyone in the office, you had great visibility over who the kind of top performers were within the team and who needed a bit of extra help. Yeah. And without that proximity, we're having to kind of make sure that we've got other methods of identifying who is or who isn't performing, who needs extra support and who doesn't, and try not to be kind of swayed by the people that we see every single day in the office, because we're seeing them. There's that proximity bias that creeps in. Actually, it's all about making sure that we've got the right skills as people leaders to be able to identify who is working really, really well, but we just can't see them every day.
Yeah.
Just because they're at home. I think there's, there is, the success of this really does come down to trust, and being able to really identify and build that conversation and that relationship with someone, even if you're not seeing them every day. You've got that ability to identify that the fact that their output and the work they're doing is of top quality or not. And if you've got that trust there and you've developed that relationship with your team members, then I think that really, really helps. But I think we can't rely on the old ways of working. I think things just fundamentally have changed, and it does depend from business to business. For some businesses, it will never work for them all to be working from home, or for some of them to be working from home. I think there's no one size fits all, either from an individual perspective or a business perspective. So it's about making those right decisions, but making sure that if there is a call to come back into the office or into the workplace, that's being done for the right reasons. And as we were talking about, it's data driven. What's the impact on the bottom line with having everyone working from home? Because what people want to hear is transparency. They want to know that they're being asked to do something for a good reason, and then they can buy into it, and then they can embrace it. So
what you're based in Brighton. I think anyone who knows Brighton knows that it's got a reputation for being a kind of certain type of place to work and live. It's quite, a lot of Londoners escape to Brighton for the lifestyle.
It's lovely. Come down. It's sunny every day.
You're by the sea. The weather's always sunny.
Massive seagulls.
I'm not sure that's a plus, but but this is becoming more important, isn't it? I think when people choose where to work and who to work for, it's the environment. So could it be Brighton, or maybe people love being in London? I mean, why not? It's one of the world's greatest cities. It attracts lots of people, but it's the actual office environment as well. What you provide in the office. So give us a bit of an idea of what 15 Below provides in the office as a place for people to say, when you're here, you enjoy being here.
Absolutely. If you're enticing someone to come back into the office, if that's an important thing for your business, and you're trying to persuade someone to leave the comfort of their home with their well-stocked fridge behind, it's making sure that when they are coming in, it is a welcome environment, it's comfortable, that they've got everything they need there, and they want to come in. But it's that very difficult balance, isn't it, between incentivizing people to come in, but doing it again for all the right reasons, really. So
we're a small business. I think you're quite a small business. Maybe how many?
About 100 people.
Oh, 100. So you're a bit bigger than us. About a third bigger, or about 3 times bigger than us. We are quite a small business, but you see, we've got nice little offices here.
It's a lovely office.
You praise them when you got
absolutely,
in, which is
really
great.
Nice.
Just down the road, 20 minutes. I think you came from there just this morning. You'll see the biggest office block in probably London being built for Google. They put a lot of effort. I've been in the current offices in London. They're just crazy. I mean, ridiculous. Free food, free laundry. And I guess that's all about saying we want you in. And actually, corporately, I think Google is now saying, I'm not sure they're doing 5 days, but they're certainly saying we want you in the office. That they can make big corporations like that make the weather on all this. So I wonder where you think it's going in that sense. Then, in terms of post-COVID things coming back. A lot of discussion in London about Friday being really just a non-work day or non-London day, and I think we've had half-price travel recently to get people back in London just to entice that. A lot of companies that used to have lots of people going to the pub Friday night are now finding there's no custom. So, there is a push in that direction. But I wonder if you think that post-COVID there's going to be a retraction, maybe not in your company, but more generally. I think
we're still in a balancing state. I think it's almost too early to tell, even though
we are working things out. Really.
It really is, and I think every single year there's a another year worth of people coming into the marketplace or into the workforce who are bringing their own individual wants and needs. And as we were talking about, Gen Z who are wanting something way more than just a job. They're wanting that whole relationship it's gone way beyond kind of that transactional
And they've never
thing.
done 5 days a week in office, so
They've
they don't know
never
what it's
done
like.
it.
You know?
No, absolutely, and they will take some convincing, I think.
What I think is interesting, talking about that younger generation, is they look to their employers for things that were never considered before, like, you know, you've got to look after my own mental well-being, and you've got to look after my general well-being as well. Like, this wasn't a thing when I started work. It wasn't even a thing maybe 10 years ago or 5 years ago. Maybe they're not getting something elsewhere. Maybe society's changed, but they're definitely looking for their employer for this. That puts a lot of stress and strain, and actually makes people's director's job, HR job, much more difficult, does it?
Yeah, I think so, but it does. I think it's viewing people as people, you know, as holistically and as valuable. You know, none of us leave our lives at home when we walk in through the office door. So I think it's absolutely right and fair that people should expect that. You know, we ask a lot from people, and therefore, you know, as employers, we have a responsibility to provide that support and that help. Yeah. And I think in doing so, you get it back. You get it back in you know,
I suppose it's always been
in
the
loyalty
case.
And performance and engagement and happiness. And who wouldn't want to, you know, have a team full of really happy people?
Yeah. Well, I suppose it's always been the case that whatever was going on at home, often coming to work was your escape from some of the stuff that is really making you stressful, because it's family, it's whatever, all that stuff. You leave that behind. And so work has always been a sort of way of making your mental health better, maybe, applying yourself, having purpose in life as well, you know. Yeah,
if you're someone who can compartmentalise and can do that, that's absolutely right. It's an absolute valid reason. It's a distraction. I guess, you know, the challenge is when it starts to affect performance and you know, people are genuinely suffering in the workplace, and I think what we're better at now is kind of recognising that if someone's performance has slipped, the likelihood is that you know, there is potentially something else going on, and rather than just going in with a very hard-nosed performance improvement plan or whatever you want to call them, you know, actually what we're doing is sitting down and having a proper good old conversation and trying to work out what might be going on. Sometimes it is just a performance issue, you know, don't get me wrong, but you know, but I think we've just got so much better at viewing someone as in their entirety rather than just an employee.
For you, is Brighton a good place to find young talent? Because you've got a number of universities locally. Do they produce the talent that you need? Yeah,
we've got really good relationships with Brighton and Sussex universities, and we do placements and graduate schemes with them every year. I think the war for talent is really, really high in the town, in the city. So we do, and I think since COVID, we do a lot more remote recruitment as well. So we're able to kind of identify where people are around the UK. So we're not so heavily reliant, and it's made that piece far less competitive. We're able to, particularly when we're looking for developers, you know,
that's one of the massive upsides. You don't have to live anywhere near the office anymore, which was massively restricting. In the past.
It really, really was, and there'd be the same companies competing for the best people constantly, and we just don't seem to have that anymore. And
it would just rank up the price of the talent, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. But the advantage of that for our people, certainly up until COVID, was that you know, companies were having to really up their game in terms of what they were offering from a work
it's a buyer's
experience.
Market.
Exactly. So there are some amazing employers in Brighton. It's an incredible place to have a career, particularly as a young person.
Do you think taking that as a kind of template for the aviation industry, as we talked about having to compete, it should do more? A lot goes on. There's a lot of good universities out there that have very close connections with the industry. We have Cranfield University in this country, which we've done stuff with. But is there more to be done, do you think, by the aviation industry to get into more generically to students that level and go, look, while you're considering, before you're even considering, we're there, and just be present and say, just consider it when you come to the point at which you have to decide what you do.
Absolutely, and probably before someone goes to university, it needs to go right the way back to school, doesn't it? Yeah. We've noticed probably in the last 5 years that we're starting to get a much more diverse workforce coming through, because that whole STEM piece is being really pressed much, much younger, at primary school and onwards. Right. So, you know, we're getting a lot more female applications for our dev roles, for example, than we ever have before. So it is starting to happen, but it is just very, very, very slow.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned diversity, because that was what I wanted to get your thoughts on that. clearly everyone's talking about it. And it's one of those things that it's talked about so much, it loses its meaning. And it's worth always asking, what does it mean to have a diverse workforce, and why is it a good thing? There's without doubt certain areas of the aviation industry which are still extremely male, for instance. I mean, that's almost diversity like point one, because you've got male and females, the half the population. If you're almost entirely male, then clearly something's not right, maybe, but it's the nature of the work at times. All that is changing. So what are the upsides? Why do companies, why should they look for a more diverse workforce? What do they get out of doing that?
Oh gosh, endless. All the research has been done to say that a diverse workforce has a direct impact on the bottom line. It's just fundamental. Yeah. If you've got a diverse workforce, you're much more able to understand and respond to your customer, because you've got a diverse customer. So it's hugely important for decision making, problem solving. You can end up with a very, very if you've got an undiverse, a lack of different viewpoints coming to the table. You're going to make the same decisions over and over again. No one's going to take any risks. Things aren't going to move on and progress. So, there's enormous amounts. I was listening to, I know this isn't aviation, I was listening to the radio yesterday, and they were talking about patient outcomes. If you have a diverse operating team, for example, you're much likely to have a positive. You're much more likely to have a positive outcome to following surgery if you've had a diverse team working on you. It's one of those things that there's no argument against it, quite frankly. And I think the challenge for people teams really is to set up the environment that really allows for that diverse workforce to come in.
When you've got a sector like engineering, which is so male dominated, so there's no real role models for people to sort of aspire to. How do you even start with that? Do you think as a sector? Because the role models, I think, are always really powerful, but if there simply aren't any, how do you even start with that?
Yeah, that is a challenge. It really is a challenge, and I guess I guess there's going to be no business that's going to have zero diversity. So it is just about kind of going out there, making sure that every single stage of your recruitment process, there's no barriers to entry there, making sure that you are backing initiatives that are encouraging a more diverse workforce. Pool into the industry in the first place. There's a lot there that can be done. I think we just need to kind of really focus on the areas that will make the most difference. I
often find companies have this. They just don't talk about it or promote it. It's there. Yeah. I came across a very big airline last year. I won't say who it is because for embarrassment, at Paris Air Show, and I think it was I was on their stand. I was being shown some new technology by one of their senior female data analysts. I think she was Australian. And I said, wow, this is great that I'm being shown this by a female data analyst. That's amazing. She said, oh yeah, but my data analyst team back in France, they were 80% female. I was like, what? Wow. I mean, like, how do we not know this? And when we come to you and say, put forward someone to speak, why don't we get some of those people rather than maybe the male boss, which is, always a struggle for us, because we want to, when we put events on, we want to put a diverse speaker lineup on stage, and it's tricky. Yeah. So maybe some companies have it and they just don't promote it enough. Do you find that?
Yeah, undoubtedly, I think it's out there, but and this comes back, as I was saying earlier on, about like the whole EVP space. If you've got a very genuine reason to come and work for you, then absolutely push that. Make sure it's authentic. Make sure that those are the reasons why you're going out there. It's your kind of it's your shop front, if you like, to say come and work for us. So people should be pushing these things. Absolutely, identifying, going out to the business and saying why do you like working for us? What are the benefits working for us? And then pushing that out and making that really authentic, so that when people do join, that is their genuine experience of going into that workplace. Yeah, for sure.
Look, time is beating us. We have to start wrapping up. As I said, you're working with us on Best Places. In the not too distant future, we'll have our first tranche of companies which we can officially say is Best Places. They can have our logo on their websites, and when they go out and recruit, they can be very proud of that and hopefully outcompete some people who don't have it. And maybe next year we'll get a lot more wanting to have that accolade. So just wrap up by explaining what it means for a company to have that kind of recognition, because what this is all about is we don't touch it. It's the employees telling us and telling the employer, this is why we like working for you? Why is that so important? Why is that so powerful for all companies?
It's incredibly important. And when I first heard about this initiative, it made total sense to me, because we are all looking for really good people, and having that external kind of validation, if you like, around the quality of leadership, the quality of people decisions that are going on, the quality of support that's provided, and all those sorts of things. It really then gives candidates that kind of reassurance that this is going to be somewhere that I can go and I can thrive, and I can build a really fulfilling career. I think it's a great initiative, and I think everyone should do it.
They should.
Frankly,
you're right. We'll support that. So.
And I think it also gives recognition to all the hard work that people teams and HR teams and people leaders do, and why not try and reward that and
sometimes
recognise
it goes unrecognised.
Absolutely.
Well, anyone who's listening to this who wants to put their company up, we're still open for registrations. We've got a few weeks left, so I think July the 4th is our final deadline. Please look at it. Get your HR people involved, because I'm sure they will want to do it.
Absolutely. It's a no-brainer, I think.
It is,
really.
It is.
Yeah.
It costs you nothing to do. I mean, so
amazing.
Just
even better.
Just get it. You have to get a lot of your staff to fill in the survey, but that's just one of those things. And then once that's done, I'm really looking forward to seeing who comes out, what scores they get, and then that forms the benchmark. We can use that for future reference. So anyway, look, we're really delighted 15 Below's seen the vision for it, and that was you. Thank you very much for that, and supporting us this year, and we really look forward to working with you in the future. So Claire, thanks for coming in today.
Oh, thanks for having me, Lee.
And we'll speak to you again soon. Thank you.
Cheers.
We're delighted that our friends at Amadeus have agreed to be the launch sponsor for ABNcast. And while they do not endorse the opinions and views expressed, they are keen to support a new forum for open discussion and debate around the future of aviation. Amadeus' technology powers the global travel and tourism industry, inspiring more open ways of working, more connected ways of thinking, always with an eye on how the industry can evolve, on how the travel industry can better serve travellers, bring people together, explore new experiences, and do business. Travel should be meaningful and personal, and it must be centred around the traveller, which is why Amadeus is investing to create their technology to put more power into people's hands. As an industry, we only progress by working together, and Amadeus' open platform is connecting the entire global travel and hospitality ecosystem. Our environment, our communities, and our destinations matter. Together with our customers and industry partners, Amadeus is working to make travel a force for social and environmental good, and ABNcast will be placing a specific focus on these themes in future editions. To find out more, visit www.amadeus.com, and make sure you subscribe to ABNcast, which you can do on Aviation Business News' YouTube channel or on Spotify, so you don't miss out on any future editions. And please tell your friends and colleagues all about us. Thanks very much.